the system, and I'll show you how to do the make scenario for your specific use case. So first I've got here a sample portfolio board, and then here you've got, for example, the project A board, and you can see, for example, I've got task 1 to 5. It's the same for project B. So this is the current setup of the project boards. This is the make scenario, as you can see. I'll walk you through each of the modules that we did. So let me start by going back to the first project board. So what you want to do for your project boards is to install an automation. So you go to automate, you create an automation here, just search webhooks, and then select this one. When a column changes, send a webhook. So I'll just you can see when you select the webhooks, you need to paste a webhook URL here, and this is where you will now go to make.com, go to your first module. So your first module is watch events. So these gets any events from your Monday board. So in this case, it watches out for webhooks. Now I currently have here a current webhook, which is this one, and this will appear here. So I will just copy this one to the clipboard. But if you're doing it on your account, you can choose to add a new webhook and name it yourself with whatever name you want. So for now, I'll just copy this webhook URL that I got here, save it, go back to your project board, paste the webhook URL here, and click connect. Now this prompt will appear. Just click the column and click date and create automation. Now all the automation is done. I will just do the same for the other project board. Again, create automation, search for webhooks, use this template, paste the webhook URL from make.com here, and select the date column. Now that we've done the webhook URLs, now I'll go to the other modules here in make.com. So first, before we go to the second module, you can see that I've added a filter here, only these tasks. So to create a filter here, when I click setup filter, I put a label. You can name it however you want, but you need to add 2 conditions or more conditions depending on how many tasks you want to feed into this make scenario. So the reason for this, why I included a filter, is to minimize the number of operations consumed during the process. So this will limit the events that make will capture from your Monday boards to only those items that you need to get. So for example, we only want to get items named task 2, or we only want to get items named task 4. So only those items will pass through to the other modules of the scenario. Make sure to use the or rule instead of and rule so that either of them will go through. Save the filter, and then your first module is now the get an item module. So in this module, what you will see here is I've linked the pulse ID from the previous module. So you can see that it connects, or it feeds data from the previous module. So this is enough. Just click save. The next one is the get a board module. So for this one, what we basically want to capture is to get the board ID. The reason we need to get the board ID is so that when we now update the column values on the later modules for these two modules, they know which item to apply the change. So this also gets the data from this module. So this is already okay. And the next module is the search items in the board by column values. So these are the settings. So what this module does is to search the items in your project, in your portfolio board. So for example, in your portfolio board, you have these items, project A, project B, project C, and so forth. So this will search for the item names in that particular board. So it will search in the name column, and then the value that it will use to get that name is coming from this module. So just a recap why this is set up this way. So this module gives you where or what board did the change in date occur. So if you can see here, we've got the board ID here, but unfortunately, we also need the board name. And for us to get the board name, we had to install this module. So this module, when it runs, you will get the board name here. And now, once this module is done, we apply that into this module, search the value or the name of that board here. So what it does is after that it runs, you can see that it now shows the item ID. So it shows you the items that match from your portfolio board. So for example, when we search the project B board name, it searches for project B item name in this portfolio board, and it returns that particular item. And this will be the item ID that will be used later in the next two modules. So this will be the final modules. I've just divided this into two. One for task 2, one for task 4. If you do need to add more dates into your projects, you can just choose to clone this module and connect it to the router. You can set up the filter here. So when you check the filter, you can see that my label says if task 2 is edited, the pulse name is equal to task 2, meaning all changes with item name as task 2 will pass through here. So let's go to the last module that we have. So the module here is similar to the other module, this one. So it gets the item ID from the module that I've showed you earlier in the portfolio board. So this setup basically finds the item for you in the portfolio board and feeds that item ID into this last module, so it knows what item to update that date change into. So column ID is basically the column in your portfolio board. So as you can see, we've got task 2 date here. If you go back to the make scenario, it's task 2 date here. And then the date to this one is coming from the module before. And basically that's it. I'll save this. Do the same for the other modules if needed. And that's pretty much your make.com scenario. So to show you that it works, let's run this scenario. I'll save the changes, make sure it's turned on. Go back to your portfolio board. Let's try first project A. Let's say I change the date from task 2 to May 30. If you go back to your make scenario, you should see that it's running. Now, once the operation is done, once you go back to your portfolio board, you can see that item project A is now updated to May 30. Let's do the same for project B. For project B, I will change task 4. Let's just say I'll change the date to May 31. Go back to the make scenario, see if it runs. It went to the other module. And now you've got, going back to the portfolio board, you can see that the change is now reflected here. And that's basically that's it. And if you have any questions, just let us know and we'll be happy to help you. That's it. Thank you.